Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm here to talk to you about the 6 essential settings that you should pay attention on your camera for a better video quality in audio. And these settings are the frame rate and the shutter speed. These two work together, should always work together. And the ISO, the white balance, the aperture of your lens, and the audio level. Those are the most important things that you have to pay attention every time you use the camera for filmmaking. So the frame rate and the shutter speed, how they work together. There is a rule called the 180 degrees rule for shutter speed. It says that the shutter speed should always be the double of your frame rate. So you have to adjust your shutter speed to the double of your frame rate. Some cameras don't allow that exactly, like mine. I'm using 24 frames per second and my camera doesn't have the 48, 1/48. So I'm using 1/50 because it's the closest setting for my shutter speed for the corrector. So I'm using that. But when I'm using 120 frames per second, I use the 1/240, and that's the correct setting. This setting is important because it has a more cinematic look. It's the settings for films. The 24 frames, and it has better how can I say, motion blur. It's more natural. It's like what your eyes sees. The study says that our eyes see 24 frames per second. It's the frame rate from our eyes, so it's more natural. If you go to 30 or more frame rates per second in that speed, if you film it and reproduce it at that, it's not that natural look. So I always use, for normal speed, 24 frames per second, and for high speed I use 100 for recording, but when for slow motion, I record on 120 frames per second, sorry. And I always put my videos on 24. The output is always 24 frames per second. No matter what the image quality is, 4K, HD, I always export on 24 frames per second. Another important thing is the ISO. The ISO is the sensibility of your camera. The higher the number, more sensitive is your camera, but as a quirk, the higher, the more noise you can catch. More noise in your video will be present. So always use the lowest possible. In my case, I'm using a Sony with a S-Log, and S-Log, the minimum that it allows is 800, and that's the ISO that I'm using for the less noise possible on my image. The white balance is another important thing. For me, maybe one of the most important things, because you never should use the auto white balance. Why? Because if you use white balance and you have different lights, if the light is changing while you are filming, the auto white balance will try to maintain and adjust for the different lights, and you cannot correct that temperature of the light in your video. So you should always set it to manual, otherwise you will have problems. I'm filming with temperature set in the custom mode. I know that my lights are 5600 Kelvin temperature, and I set my camera to that temperature. If you are outside and you don't know, you should use daylight if it's a bright sunny day, or if it's cloudy, use cloudy, and are different settings on your camera. All cameras have this setting, so use one that is appropriate for the moment, but always in manual, not in auto white balance. Another setting that is important is the aperture. You should use the aperture that you think it's right, but maintain that. Don't go adjust the aperture while you're recording. I prefer to use a widest aperture. In this case I'm using f2.8, it's the widest that my lens go. But if you have too much light and you have to adjust it for that and stay, because if you are adjusting the aperture while you are recording, then you will see the difference in the videos, in the film. And if you can, you should buy a variable ND filter, a proper variable ND filter. They are not that expensive, and with an variable ND filter you can control the light that goes through the filter into your sensor. You can, it's like having some kind of sunglasses in your lens, but in this case it's adjustable. You can adjust the amount of light that goes through that filter, and you can control it outside. If it's too bright and you want a shallow depth of field, you want the background blurred and only focus your subject, you can still have it on f2.8 and control the amount of light that you want to get into your sensor with that variable ND filter. And the last one, that's not for video, it's for audio of course, is adjust your microphone level. No matter if you use the internal microphone or an external microphone, go to your audio settings and adjust the sensibility of your microphone, and don't allow the microphone, the level to go to the red. Put the meter on your screen and talk and watch what is happening, and if you see that the meter is going to the red, reduce that sensibility value. Don't allow the camera to clip the audio, because it will be a bad audio, and it's I prefer to see bad quality image with a great audio than the otherwise, and I think everyone prefers that, because you can support a bad audio. Okay, it's better to have a good audio and a bad image than the otherwise. So are the first settings, the first thing, I don't know how to say, the first thing that I tried to learn, and it's been helpful for me because I'm getting used to those settings, and now I understand the difference between trying to film without those settings, and you look at the film, why this is incorrect, why something that's not as it's supposed to be. So now that I'm using those settings, those rules, for me are the 6 rules, the most important rules for filmmaking, and I always pay attention to them, and you should too. You should go out and you should get the camera and adjust those parameters, those settings on your camera, and see the difference, because it's a big difference. And I hope this information has been helpful for you. So if you like it, please hit the like button, the subscribe, and the notification bell. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.